My MC sarcophagus open, red hooded cloak soaking of oils essential, glowing from my mental. Some slide with a coward glide out the temple. Arrogant, egotistical, pseudo-mysticals. Silence from mixed telepathic and graphic. I'm communicating with identified shifts, objects flying in zigzag and symmetric patterns. My pyramid core looks like a cavern, spiritual war, reflecting off the raging cauldron water bubbles. No burning wood smell, no heat but cough doubles. No smoke watching broken puddles, glass flowing, grass growing, foaming, smoking nozzles to minds. My words are fossils, colossal. Dirty moors appearing as thousand apostles. Glowing lower chakras, fireflies and bottles. Won't give enough light and minds to get me out the darkness. Spirits around me, soul and heartless. All five senses shot watching a walking carcass. Wires poking out from foreheads, blink to answer iPhones. Mouth tubes going through nose to lungs to smoke hydro. One time I traveled so far, chasing a star, dodging comets, zooming past quasars. One time I traveled so far, chasing a star, dodging comets, zooming past quasars. One time I traveled so far, chasing a star, zooming past comets, dodging quasars. One time I traveled so far, chasing a star, zooming past comets, dodging quasars. MC sarcophagus open, from slaves to cyborg psychos, hatchet through the door as rage leaks from pores. Black hole, not vinyl, watching it spiral, disciple of the archetypal hip-hop revival. I'm pulses versus suicidal impulses. Bonafide genocide, I'm crucifying vultures, not absorbing into cultures. Burst out like Gamma Bay, I'm like Alhambra days. My veiling sunglasses are not rapper shades. I'm seeing aliens with locks and turbans, not grades. Floating off the platform, greeting me with Islam gestures. Blue flame corkscrew around scepters, using a portal as an entrance. Galactic world pendants with some solar flare, double helix necklace. Couldn't believe what I'm seeing, I gotta get this. One time I traveled so far, chasing a star, dodging comets, zooming past quasars. One time I traveled so far, chasing a star, dodging comets, zooming past quasars. One time I traveled so far, chasing a star, zooming past comets, dodging quasars. One time I traveled so far, chasing a star, zooming past comets, dodging quasars. My MC sarcophagus open, sitting at the table of ascendant masters, not descendant pastors, telling me about silent brotherhood mysteries and true Ali, conquering the 6 degrees, becoming the logos to reteach his stories to get us off the mental slave trees. Telling me to study the works, not slander from jerks, conspiring with de facto jurisdictions for perks, taking de jure paperwork to corporate clerks. Be mindful of dirty malls, throwing dirt on your worth. At that time, up stood one of the turban sages, created a timeline in space to show the ages of all the galaxies, universal places of existence, explained from a distance, inner, under, and overwhelmed realms of persistence. Indoor bright with the sun's light, moon wax and wane in my brain, energy gunfights. Indoor bright with sun's light, moon wax and waves in my brain, energy gunfights. One time I traveled so far, chasing a star, dodging comets, zooming past quasars. One time I traveled so far, chasing a star, dodging comets, zooming past quasars. One time I traveled so far, chasing a star, zooming past comets, dodging quasars. One time I traveled so far, chasing a star, zooming past comets, dodging quasars. Me and me, that's how we do it.
Think about that. Think about it.
Yeah. You know.
Think about that. Think about it.
Iron Sheep, Moorish MC.
Think about that. Think about it.
Shimitar Bay, Moorish Master,
Think about that.
MC.
Think about it.
Hey yo, think about this, now think about that. Think about your first words and don't talk back. Think about your status, don't call yourself black. Think about how corporations jack you attacks like menace to society or any gangster flick. Before you say you're a slave descendant, think about the ship. Think about the trip across the Atlantic. Think about the mutiny, think about the panic. Would slaves be frantic, heading back to shore in a ship not theirs, or was it really yours? Prisoners of war, subjugated Moors, crossed out with Hannibal and the Battle of Tours. Spanish Inquisition that didn't convert the Moors. Think about the laws and the first passports were given to the Moors during Barbary Wars, fleeing from the pirates like they swimming from jaws. Take over their vessels and make their wives wars. That's why they hate our sisters and us to their core. I can't wrong them. You better think about that. Pirates coming and they thinking y'all sailing off the map. Do they face us head on and plan an attack, or call it a loss and sail to the horizon off the map? I wasn't there, but I think about this. They also fought whales and giant squid were monster fish. On open waters can't defend self or protect daughters. Just pray the Catholic fathers and prep for slaughter.
Think about that. Think about it. Think about that. Think about it. Think about that. Think about it. Think about that. Think about it.
Hey yo, think about it. Think about it. When you hear the truth, do you think that you should doubt it? Truth said what I brought you could shout it. Many make friends with lies, but truth they want about it. Like a main event on pay-per-view and wanna be champ. With no status, you can line yourself in the drunk tank with Indians or fire water. All in your face, tax exempt card for Indians. What a disgrace. Indian tax card, get them the liquor so cheap. Before the night start, red dirty Moors lay in a heap. Talking in Ojibwe tongue with skunk drunk speech. Jumbled and mumbled like savages from African jungles. Sounded like a power, but no African bongos. Corporate cities use aboriginal names like Toronto, Mississauga, Ottawa, Niagara, Canada. More civilized like Concord, Spain and Grenada. Civilized worldwide, north, south, east and west. We brought science from space heights to sea depths. We brought physics, alchemy, check pyramid texts of Maya, not Egypt. They see it if you go to China. Africa is Asia, that's why those from China could find gold in South Africa, working like miners. Africa really belongs to Asiatics. Pygmy bushmen with afros were so nomadic, traveling across hot sand, seas and forests. Expert navigators, Moors far from North. We were never meant to just eat Euro juice polish. You must walk through Moors Gate to go to Juice College.
Think about that. Think about it. 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 Think about that. About that. About that. About that.
You're listening to Circle 7 Music.
Everyone wanna just rap nowadays. No content, just crap nowadays. Piercing the lips with tats on their face. Cross on foreheads with a push gauge. Marley's kills more brain cells. Street doors revolve, makes them stay in cells. No service hours, you do it that time. In a cellar with a fellow with parking fines. What's the world coming to? Not to an end, but an end for those that can't comprehend. Those that can't think or use faculties with no nationality with these casualties. Chain out the plans, victims take here like the Jews under Hitler, but vapor. No ashes, calling the masses. No suit, no wake, no funeral, no casket. Street cops with masks, riot gear tells. 84 prophecy of George Orwell. We living on an animal farm, can't you see it's blatant? Zombies are doctor's patients. Flu shot takers high off a vaccine. So high thinking liquor is Listerine. Then doing dumb shit, man that walk like wet wood. No cars around, but they rep hoods. Rep big gas, but babies get clapped. Not the one sinning, giving back claps. Not reconstructed, changing maps. Or fake governments imposing acts. Or the ones selling horse meat and snacks. In black, it's only darkness, light lacks. Third eye blind, sight lacks. Watch it crash when the empire strikes back.
What's wrong with this world? Many falling down the wrong trail, but all is well. What's wrong with this world? This must be one of the hells that we are sure our failed. What's wrong with this world? Many falling down the wrong trail, but all is well. What's wrong with this world? This must be one of the hells that we are sure our failed.
Eternal inflation, the cause of mind devastation. Hear what I'm saying? The problem is based in created life imitation. Only for those that understand. Let us observe the ancients of Egypt. Walk lightly, going forward with this book. Symmetry declares I hold to an air. ET's position, 3 triangles there. Or escape airs, all good already there. A kind man of overstanding is what I share. But I and she speak truth from what he teach. Frequency and range, blast out, mouthpeak. I left the block physical and now telepathy. Born wisdom, like a game of chess till we free. Life is essence, calculate with care. What's wrong with this world? Survive it if you dare.
What's wrong with this world? Many follow down the wrong trail, but all is well. What's wrong with this world? This must be one of the hills that we are sure in ourselves. What's wrong with this world? Many follow down the wrong trail, but all is well. What's wrong with this world? This must be one of the hills that we are sure in ourselves.
Minds lost or gone, don't know where it is. You act like animals for being called kids. Guns to the time said they shooting off lids, so with heavy metal more louder than skid row. Jeans and pants tight with swag like Cisco. Love Punani bad, but where dicks go, get them signed to labels that extort innocence from those innocents and bought views and abuse. Rap Davis church, executive play with balls like Nerf. Stimulating bass shock was hot like the turf. Soul selling out, not knowing what it's worth. Rich rappers pass, they clutching their purse. Youths last start nowadays in a hearse. Think life's a movie, this ain't Skyfall. Faces were bad, now they tattoo eyeballs. Everybody's pierced and strain of faces. Unconscious more, stop claiming races. Claim a place, don't claim a state. Those are plantations, no frame or base. Disgrace and wonder why we are disgraced. Asking why am I part of this race that I never win. See, we never won. We fight each other using their guns. But when they fight, they're using our sons. In wars, never near, always far ones. We'll learn, just need to get scarred once. From ear to chin, stay out the bin. Stay off the corner, learn the hard way. Real killers don't cross over like Hardaway. Stay off the corner, learn the hard way. Real killers don't cross over like Hardaway.
What's wrong with this world? Many follow down the wrong trail, but all is well. What's wrong with this world? This must be one of the hills that we are sure in ourselves. What's wrong with this world? Many follow down the wrong trail, but all is well. What's wrong with this world? This must be one of the hills that we are sure in ourselves. What's wrong with this world? Many follow down the wrong trail, but all is well. What's wrong with this world? This must be one of the hills that we are sure in ourselves. What's wrong with this world? Many follow down the wrong trail, but all is well. What's wrong with this world? This must be one of the hills that we are sure in ourselves.
Moors, peace and love, happy holy day to the Moors worldwide. Islam to all of the Moors, anywhere you're at. Islam to all the Muslims all over the world. Assalamu alaikum to all the Muslims, all the Muslims. We also want to say, we want to make sure that we plug this one. Make sure that we plug this one. NoMoreDaily.com. Happy holy day to all the Moors worldwide. Happy holy day to all the Moors worldwide. We just want to start up with something. Moore sent me something, so before we get started on that, let's just take this in. Islam to all the Moors who study and don't just go on YouTube watching BS. Actually go on YouTube and find some stuff that pretty interesting.
Thomas Anders and
Really interesting.
Bad Boys Blue 2019 Canada
Pretty
Tour.
interesting.
Here's our Rick's List item number 3. I think you're going to enjoy this. This is really different. Before the Spanish conquistadors wreaked havoc on South America, it was, as we all know, the Inca Empire, which stood supreme in the Andes Mountains for centuries. If ever you've had a chance to go to Machu Picchu, you would see absolute wonders. I had a chance to do with my family just that very thing, as you can see.
Oh yeah, just remember, just reminded me, Honest Noble Drew Ali. And remember, he told you Europeans gonna tell the truth, and told you watch the news, keep your eyes on the radio and all that stuff, and some stuff's gonna be told to you. Right? 100+ years later, prophecy still manifested.
See right here, it is like one of the wonders of the world. But I digress. Following the conquest, so much of the Inca culture was just lost, right? So for ages, those who studied the Inca culture thought that this vast empire didn't have a written form of communication. How could a culture and an empire run without a written word? That's where the story we're about to share with you becomes so relevant and so interesting. See, hundreds of what are known as khipus. I'll show you what they look like in a minute. These khipus, they've been recovered from former Inca lands. Okay, what's a khipu? They're like writing devices made from strings with knots tied to indicate bits of information. So they did have some kind of information, right? The khipus are known to contain records and census data. There they are. But could they also contain other information, more important information? And does that mean the people and the cultures of the Western Hemisphere were really more complex and more sophisticated than we have been led to believe? All right. So for more on this, I'm going to bring in a Harvard man, a professor at Harvard, one of the leading experts on the khipus. Dr. Gary Urton is good enough to join us. Dr. Urton is a professor.
Just remember they went to their Harvard. They went to their Harvard guy. They didn't go to 125th Street and go pull somebody to come talk some BS. They went to their Harvard guy. All right? They went to their Harvard guy. And then remember, nobody draw either. Europeans can tell you the truth and all that stuff. Up to this point, nobody should have any issues with anything, just talking about some Inca stuff.
Professor of archaeology and of anthropology. So, can we say definitively, many who thought that there was no proper way of communicating that these people had, that they actually did, Professor, have a way of communicating?
They clearly did have a way of communicating. The question is now, and will probably be for some time, whether or not that constituted a writing system. So what I mean by that is, usually with a writing system, we're talking about a system in which we have graphic signs, like our alphabet, that are related to a specific language. And we think that these khipus, these knotted string devices, that they probably did not signify the sounds of a language, but rather they were something like notations, so that they could be like mathematical formulas, for instance. So that in a mathematical formula, someone who knows how to read a mathematical formula can tell you precisely what it says. But the formula itself doesn't say that in language. It says that in signs. And so we think that the khipus probably recorded information in that type of system.
Well, see, that's interesting, because that would make them actually even more sophisticated than many of the so-called societies that we thought were much more, because I know...
Huh? So hold on a second. So they're saying that we thought the people on that side of the Atlantic Ocean were serious. Now they're saying that over here might be more sophisticated than other places where they thought they were sophisticated. These are Europeans talking, remember. And oh yeah, remember, they've already outcasted the Negro, black, colored, and whoever from this jurisdiction. So they already know they're not talking to them. Because those people classify themselves as black. But Sheldon L. already dropped it, let us know that the European told him, hey, I call you black because you call yourself black. Like, hey, I know you are Moors. European told him, I know that you're Moors, but you start calling yourself black. So we call you black now. So those people outcast themselves from society. Let them do whatever they're doing in their little jurisdiction. So who are they talking to right now? Or are they doing exactly what Noble Drew Ali said that these Europeans are going to do? Tell you the truth. What truth is that? The same truth Moore's been telling you people, that we've been here. And pyramids over here older than pyramids over there. Pyramids that they're not even in existence no more, because they destroyed those stuff. since they're talking about conquistadors and stuff like that, and all these people want to talk about is some Hyksos that went and did something in some Kemet, and they're not even dealing with where they are right now. That again, the European is letting us know that you guys think that some Egypt and Timbuktu and Phoenician, whatever, Carthaginian, whatever, is something. Wait till you see what's going on this side, what's been going on this side, which is the whole secret. Didn't come from anywhere. Been here. Islam Moors, I know you're on the line, and I know we were supposed to deal with some other stuff, but this one just ran through, so I said, why not just put it out there? So I don't know if you have any comments so far on this. We got some time, and we're 3 minutes in.
Islam. His brother Yusuf Mutadio. I know the brother wanted to introduce himself. That's no. All right. Islam Moors, brother Jeremy B online.
Yeah, boy. So
yeah,
you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, that video. Yeah, that video you just showed. I saw that video the other day. I saw it myself, and I was like, "Oh, this video is crazy." They just telling it all, and like you said, the prophet told you to watch the news, and the Europeans gonna tell you the truth. And that part where they're talking about specifically the number system, it being a number system and not being
the language,
basically an alphabet or whatever. Now remember, in Egyptian hieroglyphs, when we see the hieroglyphs, the hieroglyphs themselves are mathematical equations. It's just math. Like when we see the so-called Eye of Haru or whatnot,
right?
The third eye.
Yeah, it has dimensions or whatever.
Right. Those are all fractions. You know what I mean? People think those are all hieroglyphs put together to form the eye. That's not just a picture of the eye.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's different mathematical. It's the same thing we do here. They just showed you right in the video. Same thing we do here. Same thing they was doing over there. It was just, it just bugged me out. As soon as I saw it again, I was like, wow, I just read that in the book about the eye, being a mathematical equation.
Yeah.
And because when they actually when you look at the hieroglyphs, they all are fractions. Like the brow above the eye, I think it's like 1/8 or something like that. But when you do the mathematical equation, it equals pi. It's like 3 point something. So the eye itself is pi.
Right.
So that whole thing is bugging me out to correlate it to that video right there. Like it's just math, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
Yeah. And just as you were saying too, with the eye, all the pharaohs in the hieroglyphs sit on the 90-degree angle. Because they have to be on their square.
Right. Yeah.
So the math is there.
Oh. The numbers don't lie. They put it right in the numbers. You can't change the number.
Straight.
Can't change the number. You can lie all you want. The numbers stay the same.
Brother Jeremy, you got something?
Nah, not right now, Mo.
All right, Mo. Yeah, but Yusuf.
Yeah, it's just that with the numbers again, they all being the hieroglyphs. So then it breaks down again that the numbers, certain numbers represented different gods or whatnot.
Yeah.
According to Egyptian stuff, you know what I mean? So I was like, man, those numbers mean more than what you think. They're not just numbers or mathematical equations. You know what I mean? When you get the formula, like that's the problem with the numbers. When you get the answer or whatnot, that answer could be, you know, a number that really means, you know, how to activate, you know, the 7 chakras and whatnot. You know what I mean? It could be something like that. Oh, that's bugging me out. Like, you know how to answer. They left it all there, the numbers. You know, like they can't. But we left our meanings within the number. You know what I mean? So when we saw the number, when we saw the number, we would know that's what that means when we saw the number. Like, or that number represented this. You know what I mean? So like when we do math today, 2 and 2 is 4. That's all we look at it as. Yeah. Like back then, that can be, that number there could be a whole thing of a rise and fall of a nation just with that number.
Yeah. It's real.
So when they, you know, you know, that's why I like the video, because, you know, the video, they're going to give you little clues, but they're not going to say everything.
Yeah, but they're going to give you enough that if you are a student, you know what I mean? If you really take, you know, just having information, you know, just having information.
You know, and it's the same, and we also know that, you know, the Incas, the Olmecs, the Aztec, all same people, they all at one time worship Venus. Yeah. You know, it goes back to our 5-pointed star, you know, because that's the symbol. The 5-pointed star is another symbol of Venus. And I was bugged out with, because and then I was telling Moors before, I had put it in the chat one day that they should look up Sufi Olmecs. There's a whole bunch of everything on the Olmecs were the ones that were practicing Sufism and yoga and all those techniques. We was doing that here. And they always say, oh, that wisdom came from the East. But the Olmecs, with their statues sitting with their legs folded and stuff, that's meditation, yoga form.
Right.
That's here. Statues. You know what I mean? Like that all of that. We were doing that. And like, to add on to what they were saying in the video, how we could have been a more sophisticated people over here. You know, that's another thing with the statues, proving that the Olmecs were practicing Sufism over here.
Yep.
But everybody keep thinking, you know, oh, Islam and Muhammad. The Olmecs predate Muhammad.
Yeah.
And they were practicing Sufism.
Everybody, you know, everybody was. This was the common. Like, it wasn't. See how right now, it's like, basically they run into this a monopoly on the knowledge, but back then it was known, just like the whole Moors going into, you know, Europe and educating everyone in Europe, and Europe being one of the major hubs where you went and learned anything and all of that. That's only because that's a primitive mindset. Like, well, we go, the whole lot of knowledge being shared, you can receive a whole lot of knowledge. It wasn't no, yeah, I gotta, you know, sell out my family to go get this little knowledge and see what I'm gonna do. It was shared. It was just like right now, how everybody not just looking at one person to just tell you everything, but when you come together, everybody gonna start exchanging all of this stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So, and I could go into Manly P. Hall real quick just to establish like what Brother Yusuf said about Islam and the Sufi mysteries and all of that being practiced way before who they call Muhammad. Hold on 1 second, let me say that quick. So you can go ahead, boy. I gotta pull it out right quick.
There's a lot more. Yeah, we'll just remember what it was you're gonna drop. I'm gonna play this thing.
Wow.
Know that many of our societies, the ancient societies did record stories, but this looks more sophisticated insofar as it's record keeping, not just recording stories, but it's actually recording records of sorts, right?
Right. It's recording records. We think that probably the vast majority of the khipus, and so we have that still exists, something like about 1,050 or so in museums in Europe and North America and South America. And the majority of those that we've studied so far, I've studied about 950 of them or so, they basically, for the most part, record administrative information. They record information like censuses, information about tribute, resources that the Inca had available to give to the army, to give to people who were starving, et cetera, et cetera. But we also have information in the Spanish Chronicles
Wow.
that the Incas did actually record their stories, their myths, their legends.
Wow.
Right.
That's fascinating. Now, okay, let me ask you the question I'm sure everybody who's watching at home wants to ask you. If I could have my director just put a picture, show those videos of those khipus once again, because I want to ask you a very specific question. Okay, there it is.
Okay.
I'm looking at this thing, right? And I'm thinking, how in the world can that represent any kind of record or any kind of language or any kind of anything? Give us your best explanation of how we can understand where there's any kind of communication or record keeping there.
Okay, well, there are different levels of it. On most of the khipus, and I'm not sure exactly which
well,
one
let me
you're
describe.
looking at
I'm looking at one that almost looks like like something somebody would wear around their neck, and it has a lot of like little beads stretched out.
Right, right. So if one could look very closely at all of those strings that come out,
yeah,
you would see that they have knots tied in them.
Okay.
And in fact, the knots are tied in tiers at different levels from the main cord. That's the cord from which all of those strings are projecting, right? And those knots are tied in a place value system. So the Inca recorded information, quantitative information, in a base 10 decibel system. It's very much like our own system of recording. And so you have knots that are down near the end of the string. They're valued in the ones. And then as you go higher, you go to the tens, the hundreds, the thousands. So there you can, with any one of those chords.
This is, should be having those little, those little things you feel in the brain right now, those sparks. Stuff should be working. Because remember, all the so-called across the Atlantic came over here on a ship people are going to look at that and say that that's some African stuff. These people never said African once. Not once. Remember, these are supposed to be the top of top people. They're talking about something over here. They're talking about people having certain ideals in their culture that are sophisticated beyond things that they, remember, they just found this. What else is there? Remember, they got jungles here they never touched yet. What's really here? What's really going on this side? If Atlantis was right over there, Eastern Seaboard, Caribbean and all that, then what was really going on over here? But we were talking about Islam. Islam more, you have a quote there? You found the thing?
Oh yeah, yeah. Just real quick about, that Islam was not only from, how some people say, well, everybody comes from Africa, or they get it all from Egypt and all of that. All right. Well, we knew already that this is the first Egypt. This is where the first Egypt was. But, going on to say that, it said, the mysteries of Egypt and Persia that have found a haven in the Arabian desert reach Europe by way of the Knights Templars and the Rosicrucians. The Temple of the Rose Cross at Damascus had preserved the secret philosophy of sharing rose, and Druses of the Lebanon still retain the mysticism of ancient Syria. And the dervishes, as they lean on their carved and crotch sticks, still meditate upon the secret instruction perpetuated from the days of the four caliphs. And, California is here. So, you gotta understand. But going on to say, from the far places of Iraq and the hidden retreats of the Sufi mystic, the ancient wisdom found its way into Europe. Was Yaqis evenly burned by the Holy Inquisition merely because he wore the red cross of the Templar? What were those secrets to which he was true even in death? Did his companion knights perish with him merely because they had amassed a fortune and exercised an unusual degree of electoral power? To the thoughtless, they may constitute ample grounds, but to those who can pierce the film of the specious and the superficial, they are assuredly insufficient. It was not the physical power of the Templars, but the knowledge which they had brought with them from the east that the church feared. The Templars had discovered part of the great arcana. They had become wise in those mysteries which had been celebrated in Mecca thousands of years before the advent of Muhammad. All right, and real quick, just to tie on to that, let me go down just to finish off what I was putting out there for the people to understand that when we say Islam, it's not some 1200 or this recent stuff. It says in his cavern on Mount Hira, Muhammad prayed for new truths. I take that back. Muhammad prayed not for new truths, but for old truths to be restated in their original purity and simplicity in order that men might understand again the primitive religion. So this man himself, he's not praying that, this new thing he bringing works out. I hope this little new thing I'm bringing for the people works out. He trying to reestablish, just like what the prophet told you, the age of religion. Not some dogmatic bullcrap. So, and also on top of that, if they say, Muhammad is a prophet, well, we have a picture of our prophet who brought this knowledge to us. The ancient aspect of where we at right here, like, I didn't know I had a vast estate before, I read the prophet literature. Nobody told me that. Everybody told me I came from somewhere else. And this man told us that we, like, you home. Like, this is what you're talking about.
Mm.
Told you, you Moors are from, what do you say? You Moors are from Missouri. And it's funny. It's funny you say that. Check it out. Yusuf, check. In the territory where I domicile is what they call the Houston, but you know there's another city and it's called Missouri City, right? And now it's funny. Never knew nothing about nationality, birthright, and all that. When Hurricane Katrina happened, we moved here. And we stayed on the southwest side of Houston for like the first year, and then we moved to Missouri City. So while living there, they don't call it Missouri City just all out. They call it Mo City. So,
and also too, make sure the Moors do some research on the Bay of Missouri.
The Bay of Missouri. Let me write that down myself.
The Bay of Missouri. That'll be a good one. Just to show you where it was with Moors, you know. Just to show you where it was with Moors, and you realize that everybody has an agenda to make sure that the Moors don't manifest what could manifest. You know what I mean? They pull up Prince Uriel on Moors.
Wow.
You know, too high for this plane. Too high for this plane.
Also, if I can give them one more.
Yeah, man.
Grand sheet. All right. Just to give back the ancient mindset. Now, if these people on this video talking about the Incas, right? Well, I'm gonna just read a little something that this book that they're expanding on the Mayans, and we know that's how they mention it. The Incans and the Mayans, like these are separate people, but I'm gonna just read from this book, and it's called A Forest of Kings: The Untold Story of the Ancient Mayans. And it goes on to say, early in this century, the word Pharaoh burst upon the imagination of the West and transported the modern mind into the ancient and alien world of Egypt's living God. All right? And it goes on to say, flourishing for over thousands of years, 200 BC to AD 900, the classic Maya world was organized at its apogee into 50 or more independent states encompassing more than 100,000 square miles of forest and plain. The divine Aharu ruled millions of farmers, craftsmen, merchants, warriors, and nobility, and presided over capitals studded with pyramids, temples, palaces, and vast open plazas serviced by urban populations numbering in the tens of thousands. Outside of their realm, the Maya engaged in war, trade, and diplomacy with other great states in the mountains of central Mexico. Theirs was a civilized world, a world of big government, big business, big problems, and big world of big government, big business, big problems, and big decisions by the people in power. So when this man just said that they had a whole system set up where there was no paper involved, this is something that's going back to the word being bond, like why the prophet will tell you go back to the mindset of your foremothers, forefathers, because when we was talking trust, it didn't involve pieces of paper. When we were talking, obligations, it didn't involve, it was more like as soon as you say it, like when he tell you, help me in my mission, the great missionary work to uplift all of humanity. Now, that's a charge that the prophet just handed over to you. You know what I mean? Because a trust is a charge. So So are you going to accept that charge? Because that's nobody growing up in our vast estate. Like, yeah, you know, your ancestors are so, you know, they left all of this for you, and it's time for you to, you know, come to the table and speak on behalf, and they be like, well, I don't have time, I don't know, I want to go on. You know, it didn't go like that, because whether, you know, like, they growing up knowing that they about to inherit that. There's no piece of paper they can sign or have to be involved to say they can or can't. You know what I mean? So I don't know. That just spoke to me in a big way, because these people, like they just said that they ruled millions of farmers, craftsmen, merchants, warriors. You think they had, you know, titles and deeds on all of these people and all of that? Most of the people on the land was working because everybody knew that, shoot, if you don't work, you don't eat. And we're not about to starve. This is the land of milk and honey. Like, why? If you're a farmer, why you not farming? If you're a builder, why you not building? Or masonry, whatever. Like, everybody, it wasn't this game we playing right now. Just, I don't know what to do with my life. You know?
Yeah. You already knew what you were supposed to do.
Exactly.
You already knew what you were supposed to do. There was no question. You know, that's what they say, that you have brought up. See, you were brought up with morals. So you know certain stuff. You know right from wrong and all that. Don't play.
But yeah, I yield the floor. Islam.
You got anything else, Brother Yusuf?
Brother Jimmy just went in this way. Jimmy just killed it just now.
You can read the not values, but then beyond that, you see that they have different colors as well. And we think that they were recording information by some type of color coding. And we're getting a pretty close bead on how we think they were doing that, which is a bit too complicated to explain here. And then finally, at the most detailed level, if you really look very, very closely at the chords and the knots, you'll see the chords are either spun to the right or they're spun to the left. The knots are either tied so they have an oblique axis like a Z or an oblique axis like an S. So you have all of these very subtle construction differences.
Oblique left, oblique right. Yeah, there's no way. I got to tell you, this has been a fascinating interview, because here we are thinking, these poor guys, they probably couldn't hardly even communicate with each other. They certainly had no record keeping. They have no books, and it was right here under our nose the whole time. Congratulations to you and to some of your students for bringing this to us. This is a really fascinating story, and I'm glad we've been able to share this with our viewers worldwide.
Islam.
But I remember too, I was reading a book about I forgot what so-called tribe, but it was natives here when the Europeans got here that was already doing that system, doing it with beads and so-called, like they were using that same type of system, but like a different type of material, you know, like they would use those strings, they would use beads or something like that, and then each one of them would tell stories. So it's not like all of that's connected. Like they're talking about like that's beat like in South America or whatnot, but that would be still in North America. We were doing it here too. Over here, that's all same consanguinity right there. It would and they will also speak in like sign language, of course, too. They would show like codes and for like war, and that's another thing where like when people in the Marines and Boy Scouts and stuff like that, like the signals themselves that they use, those are Aboriginal signals. We use those first, like when we were hunting or something like that in the woods or going to war. We would use signals with our hands and stuff like that, or draw out like even like when they have like
like a platform of like men or something like that, or what we're gonna do for war or something like that. Then we use different, objects for men. Like how many different men? We were doing that hundreds and thousands of years ago, and they use that same thing now to this day in war. For how to implement how many people they got over there, how many we got over here, what's in that building, what's in that building. We were doing that here already. As in Aboriginal people, as Moors, we were doing that already here. That's ancient practice. And they took that and they use that to this day. All of that stuff, that's all our stuff. All of it. All of it. The whole what's that famous code? The Morse code. Yeah. You already know.
Morse code. Morse code.
It doesn't get any better than that. Just the Morse code.
Right.
Just like they got the Morse dance, got the Morse code, huh?
You gotta have it all. But yeah, let's go to these ones. This one was funny. This one was funny. 1,000 people fell for it, but let's just see what this one said. Let's see what this one said.
I think he mad because he wanted to be B.O.B.
All right. I'm out here because really, I was just coming back from Norfolk, and yesterday I saw this video. I know I'm probably late, but I know I'm early at the same time. I saw this video where they was talking about B.O.B. and shit. Will B.O.B. Was saying the slave ship's not real, and then me, I already knew where he got that information. I'm like, yeah, he been watching some more science videos or something, and then the little meme thing or whatever you call it, I don't know what they call it. I seen on Instagram that led me to the YouTube video. It was some Moorish dudes, some dudes from the MSTA, Moorish Science Temple or whatever, put this video out. But I'm from Virginia, so I live in where they call I live in the port city. I'm from Newport News, Virginia, Hampton, Virginia, and Hampton, Virginia.
Oh yeah, and by the way, we just want to say Islam to the Real House of Consciousness out in Virginia, and Islam to all the Moors near Virginia that's been out there putting in the work, going into the school, telling these people, forget that slavery BS, guys, BS. Even when we were there, went down there to lecture, and the Moors had that weekend they had an event or whatever to go to at some school. I think it was some Martin Luther King something or somebody. These Moors are going through the school, you know what I mean? Go to the room, do the little talk or whatever, you know what I mean? Dropping it on them, leaving the school, all the youths are like, hey, yeah, Mr. Bay, whatever. Telling you about some Moors as if he's not a Moor. There's Moorish Science Temple where you're at, bro. You better go check those Moors, because those Moors already got their lockdown. Talking crazy. You're there. Actually, matter of fact, if anybody have a comment thus far, I'm just looking for something. Hold on, let me play this.
Well, just to, and he's talking Virginia, that Virginia, if you go to Northern Masonry, Like, you don't even have to go to a Moorish Science Temple, go to Moorish Masonry. What are you doing? You would be killing me, man. Yeah. What you doing? You find out that the Virginia Commonwealth, right, is 1607. Now the funny thing is that they want to, the man who gave the Royal Land Grant Charter or whatever said the Virginia Company of London. On page 105, go to more than Masonry, and you got Virginia Commonwealth, 1607. All right. Now everybody want credit. When you say you from Virginia and stuff like that, you giving hell to the king.
Mm-hmm.
You ain't have nothing to do with the establishment of that sign you standing in front of. And if you knew that, then you would know what the sign was saying when they said first Slav ship. Yeah. So, and not only that, they go on and say King James I of England.
No, they might have. Hold on a second. They might have missed that one. because you know that he didn't say Slav, he said slave. So whether these Moors think we're stupid, we don't know. So just put it on the record for them just a little bit more as far as why you made the correction.
Because the etymology of that word that we like to claim that we were and all of that is Slav. Dealing with the European, it gives you the European origin of the term, you know, who were the Slavs, you know. Then you just, once you read, you know, you get your etymology dictionary, once you read these things, then just ask you a question. Am I Slav? Am I from, you know, Europe? You know, even just like when you find out that Virginia, King James I of England gave royal land grant or charter to Virginia Company of London. Do you work for the Virginia Company of London? You know what I'm saying? And the Virginia Company of Plymouth. And you know that came together later down the line, but just showing you the origin of what you're standing in front of. Before that sign was even there for anybody to stand in front of, that King James I had to do a treaty with the Sultan of Morocco, at the time being Abu Faris Abdullah. He was the Emperor of Morocco from 1603 to 1608, while that same man that everybody claimed just came over here and started something, he had to answer that to, you know, just like Queen Elizabeth. Everybody want to talk about Elizabeth, but let's talk about the emperors they had to answer to at the time. That's what they missed. That's what they're leaving out, you know.
Oh, it's wrong, right? Because you gotta explain that. You gotta explain that a little bit deeper for them too. And for me too. All right. It sound like because it just sounds like when you said the treaty, right? That King James I made with the Sultan of Morocco, right? All right. When he made that treaty, the King James was able to set up those companies, Virginia, London, okay? Exactly. Because in order for him to be able to set up those companies here, he had to get permission from the Sultan of Morocco, because this is Morocco. He didn't King James of Britain, he didn't get permission from the United States to set up Virginia companies to come over here. He got permission from the Sultan of of Morocco to come over here and set up Virginia.
That's going down to King Louis, Queen Elizabeth, any European king or queen that they like to put on you and tell you about their introduction and what they contributed and how great they were. Realize that all of those people had to answer to whoever the sultan was at the time. So in King James' time, he had to answer to, at this time, especially if he's standing in front of Virginia Commonwealth, he had to answer to Abu Faris Abdullah, which was he was the emperor of Morocco from 1603 to 1608, which is 100 plus years before any United States anything. So people really have to understand, where you stand at. Like, that's why it's stuff that's actually set up even for the fools who have difference amongst themselves, where they tell you ipso jure you're a more subject, because like even when it comes down to it, people, when it really comes down to it, nobody about to sit and play with you and let you play games on what you actually want to identify yourself. Like, man, get your Moorish ass get your Moorish ass on. Come on, or I'm gonna take your head. Yeah, tell me I'm red, black, and green. I'm Hebrew Israelite. They're gonna be like, more or not, with your head down and the scimitar right there, more or not, and you got that. Give them that example. More or not, with the scimitar right there. Let's see what they say then. Let's see if they go down for Hebrew Israelite and everything else. And autochthonous. If they're autochthonous, that means once their head hit the earth, it's going to go back into the earth, because that's where you come from, right? Of the earth.
That's how they think it's going to go.
Right. But and I'm glad you actually said it too, Yusuf, because I when explaining the importance of where we stand as Moors here, I always like to be thorough in those areas. Like, I don't want to go over anybody's head, so I'm glad you actually, put that back.
Because they gotta see it even a clear picture of what you break it down. Even like I can ask you this too. With the treaty that King James I set up with the Sultan of Morocco, which were cousins. They were family, or consanguinity rather. Because King James I, like the Moore said in the chat, Army Bay Publications got the picture of him. That's the first time I seen it. They can show you the dark skinned brother, and that's the King of Britain who made the treaty with the Sultan of Morocco. Now, I want to make clear too, because this brother's going in on the slavery thing too, how slaves or whatever, he's going to start going in on that. I want to make it clear before he want to start going in on that when they were setting up the Virginia Company, right? Now, it's a company. In order to have a company, you got to have a product. What was the Virginia company's product? The Virginia company's product. What was the Britons, our cousins, what was they selling? Because when I was looking, the product was the Europeans. That's why the first slaves were not. What was the quote from J.A. Rogers? The first slaves were not Africans, but whites. Because that's in Virginia. That's the Virginia company. That's the product. They were the cargo. Because that's why but that wasn't what we were doing over here. Our cousins over there, that was their business. Their business was we selling Europeans. That was their business. That was their business. Now, this Moor right here, or whatever he wants to call himself, but he's a Moor. He was just act like, back to the 400 years of slaves.
oh, you guys want to see a slave ship? Well, here's the slave ship, but we already just, you went straight to the facts. Well, there's a treaty with the two cousins, the Sultan of Morocco and the King of Britain. And they were selling Europeans, and the Virginia Company's product was modern Europeans. Like,
and while that's going on, you have the quote unquote pirates doing their own taking Europeans.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
While these two are doing a treaty trying to stop the stuff that they're doing amongst themselves.
Yeah.
Stuff is still going on in the background, just like you see it today. They got the big fish in the big house, and then they still got people on the street still doing whatever it is that, because you can't really stop it like that.
Nope.
You know, all you can do is contain, but you can't stop it.
I guess that's why those same modern Europeans got tired of being sold and being thrown in piles while they died off like flies and stuff. Right. I guess that's why they come to us and talk about the Declaration of Independence. Right. Because mind you, 1607. From 1607 to 1776, let's do the math. Right. You don't think there's enough time to get fed up and want to declare? And that's why they keep talking about. That's why they kept talking about Britain in the Declaration of Independence. Like they're going back to, are you from Britain? More, we know who is from Britain, but are you? You know, are you from Britain? Or were you a part of that really? Because history don't even back up your story. History actually says that your ancestors was at the height. Right.
And then remember too that in order for them to, because remember it's about setting up the corporations and having product. So before they got themselves established or whatever, what did they do? Nobuju Ali told us these Europeans put the mark on the Moors. Negro, black, colored, and Ethiopian got themselves their product. Then 1770 stuff, they set up their corporation because now they had their product.
Wow.
And the whole and that's how they went bankrupt in 1929 because the product proclaimed their nationality. And stop being the fraud.
Man.
The prophet's right there with us.
Oh man. That was my goodness.
Like everything falling together because we were talking about Virginia, right? We're talking about Virginia, and I remember.
Oh man, that's crazy.
I remember the Moors in Virginia building on that strong. That was one thing left with. The concept that when they were setting up these companies and they realized that they can't do it like that, they have to amalgamate and do a super company, they couldn't use themselves as a product anymore.
Man, you really just sweet.
They had to use somebody else as the product. And who were the Negro, black, colored Ethiopians? Those are really the Indians. And then the Moors in Virginia teach that when they look at Moors and they brand them Indian, it's because those Moors were actually the industrious Moors. Those were the Moors who would do something. So Indian was their brand, so you could know those ones there, as far as Europeans, because remember, they're trying to figure this thing out now that they got their corporation. But always remember that 29 they were done because Drawley told everybody they're not products. You're not a product.
You said I'm not declare you a nation.
You are a nation. And once they got their nation, then there's no product. Empty shells. That means bankruptcy, insolvent, and dissolved. R.I.P. James Trafficant Jr., just like what he said on the floor of Congress stuff. That they're going to try to deny that that was ever there. But we already saw the tape. Don't worry how much you can splice it up. We already know what went on the record. And remember, February is on its way, so get ready because they're going to start their stuff soon. They're going to start their promo. But remember, 2019 is going to be 400 years.
Mm-hmm.
Thought they celebrated when the 200 year of emancipation or whatever. Watch what's going on when these Negroes keep playing the game. And then the slave, the real slave who became the master is going to continue to have jurisdiction over those products that gave up their nationality and their birthright. Don't be them. Don't be them. You better highly consider what Moors are saying. And the correct Moors, not the Moors that you don't want to be involved with. We're going to deal with them soon. Don't worry. They're on deck.
Yep.
Right? Don't be these people. Don't be the Negro, the Morisco, the unconscious Moor that is going to talk some BS to try to divert people away from their birthrights. There's trust that people want to know right now. Just like Amor said, yo man, there was this Moor that I used to see. This Moor never say anything. Then one day, the Moor actually approached me, like actually surprised me. And he wants to know about Moors. You know something's up. If that guy wants to know about Moors, because he never wanted to know about anything. It is the awakening right now. But don't get caught up. Make sure you get with the right Moors. And make sure you stay away from the conscious zombies who claim they know themselves, but they don't have a nationality like everybody else in the world.
Is where you learn in school that it was James. I'm standing here at the plaque with first Africans in Virginia, and this is where they say the first Africans were bought, right? So they say, I seen B.O.B. say, man, he said there ain't no such thing as no slave ships because you seen dinosaurs and you never seen a slave ship. So I'm like, I know that's that bullshit. That not saying that all the Moors information is bullshit, but I'm just saying that's that Moorish science indoctrination that I never seen a slave ship. Well, this is basically what I wanted to prove because that's.
Hold on. So remember, they took you to the sign, right? So they took you to the sign where the first Africans were brought and all that type of stuff, right? The first Africans were brought there, right? Where is it? The first, go ahead, Mark.
anybody. I just hit me. I'm like, yo, I can go outside and do that right now. You know what I mean? Write on a piece of paper, put a popsicle stick behind it, and put it right. This is where the first such and such right. You know what I mean? What do you mean? And people be like, if somebody come by with a camera, see, I told you, look, like, what do you, yo, that's white line paper on a popsicle stick. What do you mean? What do you mean? Wait. The real proof is about to come to it. This is the
We're gonna get set straight right now. We're gonna get set straight. Because these Moors out here, I don't know what the hell's going on with people, but I don't know if it's in the water. I don't know if it's the new iPhone. I don't know if it's freaking the Samsung has them in some galaxy that they don't even know where they're at. I don't know what's going on. But if this is know thyself right now, if this is know thyself, you people are in trouble. I'm straight because I know something. Praise Allah. Thank you. Thank you, Allah, for letting me know. Let me know I'm not Negro Black. Because it's not gonna be fun for them moving forward. It's not gonna be fun for them. Because it's complete. It's very obvious that like the European gets the wiser hood. That's because
oh, round of applause.
The European gets the standing O because where they have our people at right now, it is absolutely insane. And there's no way that this is the reality. This is too insane to be the real.
Oh man.
There has to be something higher. And praise Allah that I found out about Noble Drew Ali and found something higher than being black and African slave that came over here on a slave ship. And you came over here on a slave ship, so you know nothing about it. Was your brothers selling you. The hell are you talking about? You mad at some European? Didn't notice everybody on the ship was Asiatic? What Europeans? But anyways, oh yeah, let's get back to this stuff right here.
Really like word semantics, that whole slave ship thing, because slaves are kind of like people, like they workers or whatever, right? They that's held captive. But these Africans that were brought over here, they weren't looked at as slaves. They weren't looked at as people. They was looked at as property. And here in Virginia, if you notice, he said he never seen a slave ship. I'm about to show you a slave ship right now, because I'm from Virginia. I'm gonna let you know. And we have slave ships. This is the port city. And what it is a cargo ship, because what they were bringing over is property. And as you see right there, that's this right here. Right here, that's a cargo ship. You understand? That right there, that is a cargo ship. That's what a slave ship is.
Bro, hold up, hold up. Is that the slave ship? Why, when they showed us the picture of the slave ship for that?
That's what I'm gonna do.
Why do they have the box?
Hold on, let's check. Slave ship. Because
yeah, look at that. When you look at the slave ship, you don't have cargo boxes, man. Yeah, that's worse than using the painting. Oh man.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna find.
Act like sardines. That's what they using that.
There's one for you. There's one for you. There's one for you. There's a slave ship for you.
I wonder what time he got up to catch that cargo ship.
He probably had about 2 hours, because you know those go 2 miles a freaking second.
He was practicing the speed before it came. Well, yeah, here it come.
Here it come.
So, I was telling you about the slaves. Bro, come on, like look at the height that the people have gone to prove the slave
prove a fiction.
paradigm.
To prove a fiction. That's what they're on. Proving a fiction.
Packed like sardines. I remember the water theory. You know, because they got to drink water. You know, and water's unstable.
Where'd the water go? Where'd the water go?
Right. I was at work the other day. I had to move a water heater. I put that thing on that truck. I said, yo, ain't no way they put this on a slave ship. Ain't no way. Ain't no way they put this on the slave ship. And that's just a one water heater I put on the back of my truck, a little bit of a truck, and I was like, yo, wait a minute. Ain't no way. Who doing this for 1 million people?
Right.
I'm not doing this.
And who's living after 3 months lying like this on some ship like that?
Right. Yeah.
That's how they are? Just like that? Even those two in the middle right there, the two in the middle, you know what broken necks you're gonna have up in this place?
Right.
They're broken necks.
They couldn't even fit no more. Yeah, got 30 minutes. Come on, Moors don't even like sitting in the middle in the back seat. What you talking about? This ain't happening. This is not happening. I need that room, right?
Oh my God, this one said it.
True talk.
This more said he found the slave ship. This more said he found the slave ship here. That is real. This more found the slave ship. That's real.
I wonder what all of the scholars and the historians, what they've been on, that they done let all these cargo ships pass and didn't realize that
was the slave ship.
And his brother, the dude who mad at D.O.D. because he looked like D.O.D. You know what I'm saying? He the one who found it. Man, come on. Yeah, and you see how big that ship was? He just showed. He said that's a cargo ship, and I'm like, okay.
This Moor is killing it.
Another thing is the Moors who were running the slave trade at that time. If we didn't see that ship coming by, what do you mean? You think we didn't see that coming by? We running the slave trade, bro. And we like, yo, what is that? Yo, that's fresh meat. We would love for a ship that big back then to come by. Please, yes. We made it. The Corvette pulling up, huh? Immediately. Oh. That's the biggest. What? That's a slave. And he said, I'm going to show you a slave ship. You know, you would think he going to a museum or something. I thought he was going to a museum. Like, okay. Man. This boy pulled up at a dock. Pulled up at a dock. Like he discovered it. He did it. Like, here we go, right here. Well. And then he put on he had to put his Cosby hat on for you to believe it.
that might not be the hat to be wearing right now if you try to. It's crazy right now. Crazy.
You'll fall right under that color of law. Huh?
You fall right under that. That you put pills in people's drink, talking crazy about slave ships.
Yeah, look at that. Look at this. Look at this. That's the biggest cargo ship ever. Back then, oh my goodness.
Come on, bro. Come on. Are you serious? And then this another funny thing is because when you know the history, that those people was like crossing their fingers not to run into us on the water.
Oh my gosh. They don't want to run into Moors.
No, what?
They don't want to run into Moors.
He must really think we was in an inferior position.
Okay.
That big old thing to just cruise over here and all that.
Wait, you crazy? These Europeans still have songs they sing to this day about Moors coming. They still sing them to this day over there in Europe. They still, right, Grand Sheik? They still singing the Moors are coming in Europe right now. They singing it. They used to, that whole, remember back in the day, they was making people practice, the Russians is coming and they would hide under their desk and stuff like that. These Europeans were doing routines like that. Stop, drop, and roll. We got a fire plan, escape route. If the Moors, they was doing all of that when the Moors was coming. All of that. They do field trips. I'm talking, Grand Sheik. Y'all can look this stuff up. They do field trips to that today, and they make the European children practice the drills that their ancestors were doing to run away from Moors. They do field trips of that today. They do field trips of that today.
That's how we have them, Moors.
And they still talking about 400 years of slavery. These people have field trips about running away from the Moors right now. And they still reaching, grabbing. This man went to the dock and said, "Yo, that's
man said because slaves are cargo."
Right.
Like Moors were not even saying that we brought Europeans on that. What the hell are you talking about? Moors didn't even go there. Hey, these are the ships that we brought Europeans here on. People look at Moors crazy. Say something like that.
All right. So why couldn't Moors bring Europeans over on ships? Because when these nations signed the treaty with us, because like I said, you couldn't even if you had a treaty with us, then you were still liable to run into some rogue Moors who will come steal your whole shit. So the reason why they would sign these treaties with the Moorish Empire to move on the waters is because from their nations is where all of those Slavs come from. Those was the ones that they was getting rid of from, that's why you have the French colonies, the Spanish colonies, and all of this type of stuff. These was the unwanted. And you had to sign the treaty with us, even to send your unwanted over the waters.
Yeah.
Right.
What was the thing, Brother Yusuf? How much was it again for them to even talk to the Sultan?
Oh, what was it, 60,000? See, that's the Luella J. Hall upstairs. I'm gonna go back. Yeah. But she goes in. Man, that whole breakdown, because she even talks about like Greg Sheik was saying before we even can talk, like, because England wasn't nothing. Like at that time, the way people look at England now, England wasn't nowhere near none of that. That wasn't nothing. So it actually took forever. It actually took forever for the emperor to even respond to England. They wasn't even responding to him.
And then when they responded, when they finally responded to him, they had to pay $60,000 just to get they had to pay the $60,000 just to talk to the emperor, just to get a court visit. Like, you know how they gotta come meet in the courtroom. They had to pay $60,000 just to talk. We're not talking about what's the treaty yet. We're not making up a treaty. Nothing. We just want $60,000 right now. $60,000 on the table. And we gotta remember, this ain't $60,000 back then. Yeah, exactly. Right now it's crazy. So, but you got, and also you got to remember. Okay, it wasn't like when Tangier, Algiers, Tunis, Tripoli, where all of them found out that Morocco was doing that, they had to do that same thing with them. So when we got paid $60,000 to get a court, like, okay. Just to talk, they had to pay Tangier $60,000 to talk. They had to pay Algiers $60,000 to talk. Like this wasn't. Just to talk. They was paying all of that. Just to talk. We're not talking about the treaty. Just to talk. Everybody had to get paid just to talk. Now, what you want? That's how it went. Now, what do you want? Now, what do you want? And then also, when you do get your visits, you gotta be careful what you say. You be headers. You gotta be very careful what you're saying. You gotta. They bringing presents. You gotta send presents. You gotta make sure because you start from the bottom. So whoever you're willing to go see, you gotta pay off little by little. Then, you paid off. You paid to get your audience, but I'm bringing you there, and ain't nobody gonna say nothing if I get rid of you right now. Ain't nobody gonna say you gotta pay me to bring you to the audience. Now, okay, I'll protect you and bring you to the audience. You know what I mean? Like that. All of that's happening. Then they would get to their audience and see the Sultan, but they would have to give gifts crazy. I'm talking about whole furs, minks, lions, all types of crazy stuff they were getting for gifts.
About basically when the Sultans would come through, Great Britain. I was reading another coming out of McGill Matar Church was an Englishman, right? He said they would, like how you say, pull out the best furs. They even give them the cleanest meat because they knew we didn't even, they knew our diet. I'm talking about. It's just like how you say, the Moors coming, clean the house, kind of how the dirty Moors was when the prophet said, I'm coming back to clean up the temple. The same thing.
Yep.
We just talking about just the talk. We're not talking about the treaty itself. And remember, Morocco, Algiers, Tunis, Tripoli, all etc. Everybody has to get paid, and everybody within those nations, the people got to get paid too. All those Moors were getting paid from the bottom, from whoever was getting paid.
Consider how crazy it is, right? That let's look at it. You have to pay somebody to talk, but you might have to pay somebody because the place where you're going to talk is going through a territory where there's pirates,
right?
Who they don't care. They're taking your stuff and you're going in slavery. That's just what it is, right? Not only those ones that have their territory, but there's also little ones with little boats, corvettes, that they're taking anybody. They don't have anything established. Those are just the bottom feeder Moors. That they'll take whatever. Oh, and if there's any people, they're going in slavery too.
Yeah. Everybody.
So you're paying And then when you get there, your stuff might not even, you might get there and the man says, you know what, you took a minute too long. Sorry, I'm not seeing you right now.
Oh yeah.
Come back tomorrow.
Or your gift was an insult. You know, like
right?
or you in your letter you misspelled something. Like they would kill you because of this stuff. Like it was crazy. I was like, dang man, you must be ruthless, man. Like you misspelled something, man, kill him. He's stupid. He don't deserve to live.
Right.
Like that's what they was doing to him.
And one of the Moors just brought into the chat. And remember, when they couldn't pay, that's when they started selling their own.
Right. Wow. That's okay. That's the first booty. The first booty wasn't gold or silver or treasure. The first booty was
pun intended.
Exactly. Was modern European women. That's what it was. They were selling. They didn't have it. They had to give up the booty.
Yeah.
that's what that was. That's where it was. That's what it was.
Yeah. And for the Europeans, you know what I mean? Nothing personal. You know, these are crazy cousins that we're realizing now that this is how this thing went down. Right? Because we're studying, trying to figure this out. So we're starting to realize, you know what I mean? That it's not, there's some on you, but there's not too much on you yet. Because we're realizing that our own had a big hand in you, European, being anything that you are right now. Right? My cousin messed up big time. You know? And the other cousins talking crazy about slave ships and stuff. And they're not even putting themselves in the position of they were the ones that were the slave master. They're not putting themselves in that position. They are always the slave. But that's why they hate Noble Drew Ali, because he even told you that it is most earnestly hoped that the Moorish movement would not be compared to any back to Africa BS. Because we're over here. We don't need proof of a ship. We don't need proof of a sign. We don't need proof of anything about we're some foreigners here. What do you mean we're foreigners here? How are we foreigners here? Foreigners in our own land? Right?
That's a cargo ship. You understand? That right there, that is a cargo ship. That's what a slave ship is. It was a cargo ship. So because they don't call it a slave ship, or because you say, oh, you've never seen a slave ship. Well, I mean, a B.O.B. from Atlanta. You might, because you don't live by no water, so you might never seen a slave ship before.
As a B.O.B. fetish or something, because I don't know what the hell this has to do with Moors, and that's what we're talking about too. People like to put Moors in the title of their stuff.
Right.
Put Moors in the title, like try to get people to think that no, can't do that. That's against the rules. Can't bait people. That's clickbait. You clickbaiting. How are you clickbaiting? That's like biting or something. You're playing.
That's right.
That's
crazy how they do that.
Yeah. That's a thing. That's a thing.
I think I know what it is. He's gonna either blow up off of the B.O.B. or the Moors.
Yeah, he wants to blow up off something.
so just put both of them in there.
No, we had this one. MST of A. all Moors are not Moorish Americans. All Moors are not Moorish Americans. No.
So hold on, you want to go in on the title alone?
Hey, let's go. Title alone. We do the cover. We gotta break the cover though.
Right.
You gotta break the cover though. You gotta break the cover though.
Right. Right. Because now this is it says it MST of A. All Moors are not Moorish American. So this is coming from the Moorish Science Temple of America. Moorish Science Temple of America is saying all Moors are not Moorish American. Now, is this? Because my thing is, with now, if the prophet was around, would they be saying that? Like, would you really be saying that right now if the prophet was around?
For real. Say that again. Ask that again, Mark. That's like, real.
Like, would you really say that? Because come on, man. You know you would not. If what the prophet, like, that's insane. That doesn't even make any sense. What you just said. And that's not what he's gonna. That's not what he's about. That's not what he's teaching. Why would he be teaching that oxymoron? What you just said. That doesn't make any sense. And for them to be promoting that, you already know, like we've been saying all the time, it's an agenda. But like again, they would never say that if the prophet was around. Never. You only have more if all Moors are not Moorish American. Like, what? What do you mean? What do you mean? And I remember, again, Brother Abdullah, I love how he broke it down. The Moorish American, that's, being, because American is Al-Moroccan. It's the same thing. It's like saying more. Moorish more. Like, I'm a Moor. A Moor. Moroccan. Like, so over all Moors are not Moorish American.
But remember,
go back to that 101, huh?
Exactly. Right? Because they purposely limit the perspective. Because one, just like the church, they don't want people to think for themselves. Right? That's one thing for sure. That the grand whoever's of the Moorish Science Temple of America that aren't doing stuff properly don't want the people thinking for sure. For themselves. Right? On top of that, these people are supposed to know better. Because if Noble Drew Ali gave you the questions and the answer, why are you being withholding? It's not like he gave the answers to the adepts and nobody else can get the answer. Everybody has the answer. Now, if we're Moorish Americans, because we're descendants of Moroccans, and Moroccans are Moors, then Moorish Americans and Moors are the same. There's no Moorish Americans and then there's Moors over there. Because when you even use Noble Drew Ali,
for real, man.
When you use Noble Drew Ali as the reference point, 101 questionnaire, you hear him say, Moorish Americans, right? When we go into the Moorish literature, we go to Prophet has spoken. All governors, grand sheikhs, and head officials that guide any body of Moors. You didn't say Moorish Americans there. Okay, that's probably just one place. So Really don't know, really. Let's just check. The prophet plea to the nation. Our divine and national movement stands for the specific grand principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And I, the prophet, am applying to all loyal, faithful Moors, members, and American citizens. Loyal, faithful Moors. Not loyal, faithful Moorish Americans. Loyal, faithful Moors. Because at this time, he wasn't talking to the 101s. He wasn't talking to the Quran questions for Moorish children. He was talking to the adults. But people want to keep people as children. Have them not thinking for themselves. I, the prophet, am applying to all loyal, faithful Moors. That's Noble Drew Ali. So back to what Brother Yusuf asked them. Would they really be saying this if Noble Drew Ali is around? If Noble Drew Ali popped up right now and said, hey, how come you're saying all Moors are not Moorish Americans? Would they actually have an answer? Like, could they really justify it? How they have a 12-minute video justifying it right now?
Can I add on, Grinch?
Oh, it's not more.
All right. So, just a quick analysis. Well, what I analyzed from, like, we breaking down the title, is his agenda with him naming it alone.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, I say that to say this is because that's truth and falsehood strangely mixed, because all Moors, in a sense, aren't Moorish American. That's why the prophet gave us the 101s, why we are Moorish American. But with him dropping this, is like they know or have this idealism, or like I say, the caste system, the Johann Friedrich Blumenbach, and his counterparts of what a Moorish American is. And if the prophet told you that you Moorish American because you was born, I can't say we're Moorish Americans because you went through the temple out here, over here. No.
Mm-hmm.
So with him dropping that is the same thing what you were saying, where this is a Moorish American and them over there, they're Moors, but they're not true Moorish Americans or whatever. Like the prophet told you, you're Moorish American because you're a descendant of Moroccans born here. A temple, what temple has to do with birth? Show me any temple that actually delivered a baby onto this earth plane. You know what I'm saying? So he has his own propaganda set up, you know, like I see. And at the same time dancing around like Pastor B, right? Because they know to play off emotionalism, you know, and like you see, they don't study. Just like back then, when the prophet passed or transitioned, the Moors in the temple, they weren't studying. Because if the FBI come talking about you trying to dodge selective service, why you ain't just pull out the clock of destiny or your zodiac constitution?
Right. Show something.
Why is the FBI cracking down on y'all, scaring y'all now when they didn't have nothing on the Moorish Science Temple while the prophet was here?
Yeah.
Everything started after the transition of the prophet. So it's these people who are pushing this paradigm. So in the truest sense, all Moors are not Moorish Americans, because you have Moors out there in what they call the Philippines and all that. You know, it's Moors in Europe. You know, those are not Moorish Americans. They Moors in their territory. We are Moorish Americans because we are descendants of Moroccans born here. So don't miss me with what a Moorish American really is. And then you're trying to use the prophet like that's what's justifying your whole thing, which is fraud. And just like if the prophet was to snap up right behind them, right there, you know, I wonder if that lecture is going to continue with no pauses. You know, you probably start pulling out the pocket handkerchief, wiping the sweat from under his fez if the prophet was actually right there while he pushed his propaganda. But I don't know, man. That's what I pick from the title alone, is that's truth and falsehood, you know.
Islam.
But I hear the book.
Please, man. You got anything else, brother Yusuf?
It's the, like Brother Jimmy said, the agenda is right in the title.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can see it. It's and it's to add on to what the Grand Chief say, because they also they doing their agenda, and they know they put that title, they're gonna get some likes, some views if they put that title. That's a good attraction right there, you know, like for people to watch. You know, so they want to see something like that for it, so they want to click on that video. But then when you click on it, it's just nothing but a bunch of confusion. Especially if you just come into the information and you see something like that on the internet, that's mind warp. They're gonna get you, and that's when they start that. The Moors are not unified. They're arguing between each other and stuff like that, because stuff like you see things like this.
Yep.
Right here.
That's just out here. That people are gonna bump into this.
Right.
You know what I mean? 2,000 people or whatever. You know? And again, too, like, you know, even though you see we have YouTube and all that stuff, this not our realm. Like, I study, I got books or whatever. I don't play around on this thing right here. You know what I mean? If I want to watch some Netflix or something like that, or I'll watch that. You got the box if I want to watch a movie, you know. But to say learn from here in the perspective, like once you get it here, that's it. Like if I'm watching something here, I'll take notes and then I'm going for books or whatever. Or going for some type of study material. You can get got easy. You can get got easy. Go ahead, Mar.
And just to add on what you're saying, like you say, or not you, but you know, you would be at the video and then take notes and go to books. The more that you go to books, the less and less you're gonna need them videos. Then when you run into them videos, you be like, hold on, let me run to that book that just discredit everything he just said. Most of it be the prophet literature. Like he's using the prophet literature to push his propaganda. But you just use the prophet literature to just smack them up, like because it's like you see, the prophet told you Moorish American, but then all through his literature is more. You know, think like even he just said, think this over, you Moors. He didn't say think this over, you Moorish Americans. Now this the dude who reading from the prophet literature.
Yeah.
He didn't say think this over, you Moorish Americans. He said think this over, you Moors.
They don't want to trust it.
But everybody in the pews, they not listening to that. They just ready for him to say Islam so they can say Islam.
Yeah. Just like they say, Amen. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord.
When I was watching, I said, golly, all you have to put is an A-M-E-N and be in church. He bouncing and he doing that.
And this is Moorish Science Temple of America.
we needed the tambourine. Shit.
This is Moorish Science Temple of America. You know, and like we said, with the NOI, don't look up there and you say a sign, you think, oh, hey, NOI. No, that used to be Moorish Science Temple of America. Same thing with this. Don't look up there talking about, oh, it's a sign, Moorish Science Temple, I'm gonna go there, and then think that you're getting something worthy. Be very mindful for yourself that when you go in those doors, your own in turbans and pheasants about to enslave you, maybe. Right, your own about to enslave you, maybe.
They say, okay, we understand it was like me. And they say prophet over quality. And so, you know, we should be listening to them because, you know, we can build a bridge over it and we can create it because even though they have differences and not in our jurisdiction, then, you know, we can just kind of overlook some of the things they say so we can come to some common ground and coming out.
No.
Hold on.
So I decided to go look some of this up.
Islam. Go ahead, boy. Hold on. You had something down, boy? On that one?
Oh no, I didn't say that. I don't know if you can say that. No, that wasn't me. I didn't say nothing. I didn't say nothing.
Yeah, somebody else said something. Somebody said something. Unless it was the man on the camera.
It was the Holy Ghost.
Yeah, I swear somebody said something. That's why I stopped to think. Hold on. Hey, boys in the chat. Somebody heard somebody say something? I swear I heard something. I swear. Hey, hold on a second. Was it me or did somebody hear something? I swear I saw Yusuf said something.
No, I didn't say a word. I didn't say a word. That's why I didn't say it. I thought it was Brother Jimmy. I said, okay, man. I did hear something though.
Hold on.
You know, we should be listening to them because, you know, we can build a bridge over it and we can create it because even though they have differences and not in our jurisdiction, then, you know, we can just kind of overlook some of the things they say so we can come to some common ground and coming out.
No.
Well, it was a bad taping. Okay. That one got me.
So I decided to go look some of this up and see what the prophet had to say about us and those who are not practicing Islamism the way he taught us to practice.
Peace more.
Peace. Now you see right in the beginning where he said that and we don't have the same jurisdiction, like he was mocking them or talking to him or something like that.
Mm.
Now when he was mocking him, he sounded like a regular, you know, Moor talking. But then when he slid that word jurisdiction in there, you knew what Moorish he was talking about now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's only specific Moors that talk like that.
Yeah.
You know, so that's one of their side dishes that they be doing. But always want to invite the master teacher to all their events, the major events that they have. They want to invite them. But then when they have their little meetings or whatever, they sending out little side shots.
Slick dishes, yeah. Slick dishes. Yeah.
And when the prophet say some of my best Moors are in the church. He wasn't talking about the Bible even, man. Like bro, even Brother Hannibal, he built on how those people paid 10,000 a month and for the hypnosis part, you know, the hand moving and stuff. Yeah. The hand moving and stuff he doing.
Yeah.
You know, that's very captivating.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, this dude here is like they just got him off of the pulpit and put affairs on him and put him here. Yeah, like going back to what you used to say, he didn't even detox out of the bullshit. I mean, the bull stuff he just came out of, you know? It's like he went from the two hats, right?
Yeah.
Right. But to add on too, because you know, like the prophet was saying, you know, some of the best lords in the church, you know, he was saying like, you know, they sleep, but you know, if they were woke, they would be some great
Moors.
You know,
There'll be some great Moors, not Moorish Americans. Great Moors.
There'll be some great, right. There'll be some great Moors, but I look at it too because the way Brother Jimmy was saying, as soon as you said it, it hit me. He didn't say. Now, and if you look at the evidence too, with the letters he was writing, he said some of his best Moors are in the church. He didn't say some of his best Moors was in the temple.
See, so he said those more sold out and went to church, left the temple.
Right. Right.
Those Moors left the temple and started churches.
Yep. That's what the evidence proves. The prophet started showing you.
Yeah, some of his best Moors. Some of his Moors that were around him, his best Moors, are in the church. That's crazy.
Right.
Yeah, that's real.
But he called them Moors, but they were in the church.
Yeah.
So they were in the temple.
Right.
But the prophet called them Moors.
Yeah.
I thought you had to go to the temple to be a Moor.
For real. No, you can even go to church and be a Moor.
You're not a Moor until you go to the temple and all of that. Why the prophet just putting? Why the prophet calling everybody this term that you keep on saying is only a few and only a small number, and it's like that don't make sense.
Yeah. 0 sense whatsoever.
I guess when you put on glasses and look over the top of them,
you see better. You see better.
That's the move, though. That's the pastor move.
Yeah.
You take the glasses off. You look at the crowd. Give them that. You know what I mean? You know what I'm telling you. Mom had me in there every day when I was little. I know it. Trust me, I know it.
So they got game.
All the act.
They got game. They got game.
For real. I didn't see the full video, but if he pulls that napkin up and wipes his mouth while he's talking, I swear, bro, I thought the dude was about to pull it out too. The handkerchief right there in his pocket. Pull it out. Tap his mouth 3 times. Real quick. Like the sweat on his lip was bothering him all day. Like, yo, he's killing me. Killing me. For real, man. Like, bro, I see you. I know that.
The Moors fool. I don't know. Because he said, if they're not living the clean and moral life, they have not paid his or her dues and assessments. And where do you pay them? Providing, you know what I'm saying? Providing that he or she is working and able, they cannot consider themselves a Moor. So you gotta ask them, where are you spending your money? Check.
But he also said, not consider them a Moor, not Moorish American. But they'll just blow over that quick fast, start talking about dues and money or whatever like that, get you distracted so you're not even thinking that Noble Drew Ali just said that we're Moors. He didn't specify he's talking to Moorish Americans when what he's just quoting right there. Noble Drew Ali made reference to Moors. Why? Implying what? That he's talking to Moorish Americans. And again, to stress that fact that the Moor was saying earlier, that the only way that you're talking about not Moorish Americans is you're talking about Moors outside the jurisdiction of America.
Right.
But there are Moors from this jurisdiction that aren't here, they're somewhere else. They're Moorish American.
Mm-hmm.
If they're a descendant of Moroccan born in America, once they have born in America and they're Asiatic, they could qualify as Moorish American. They can qualify. But those people didn't go to a temple to be that. Because again, stress the point again, that the Moor said, no temple birthed anybody. Even if you came out the womb and your mom was laying on the temple floor, you still didn't come out the temple. You came out your mom.
Even if she had the baby on the steps of the temple couldn't have a birth of it.
She could have had the baby at the threshold of the door and you land on the outside. Exactly, baby, exactly. You know what's up. You know what's up. Baby knows what's up. You know damn temple to be a Moor.
It's long right there. It's long. Yeah.
That's right. Before I could call you a Moor. I didn't say that. And told to make this over, you Moors. That's right.
Didn't say think this over, you Moorish Americans.
Exactly.
I mean, if Noble Drew Ali said we're Moorish Americans and everything he brought was for Moorish Americans, why is he telling Moors to think it over? Why didn't he tell Moorish Americans to think it over? Why? Because he is the uniter of Asia. So he's talking to all these clown-ass Moors out here, get your shit together. He's not just talking to Moors in America only. And not the Moors in America YouTube video BS, not talking about the Moors. People gonna take stuff and then say I'm plugging them and stuff like that. Not plugging nobody.
If I could add on one more.
Yeah, more.
That even the prophet said that I am a universal prophet.
Yep.
You didn't see, I'm a temple prophet.
I'm a local prophet.
Yeah, it's just not happening.
I'm a municipal prophet, and my philosophy is municipal.
Well, what about this? I'm a counselor. I'm a counselor prophet, right?
I'm a consular prophet.
With the badge and everything.
All
Come
that
on,
matters. Right?
Yeah.
Let me get this.
He said, he called him and he said, but traitors, must be excluded from the books. They can't get in. Having trial by the head of their temple. He called them traitors. Who are you holding your head out and pressing, talking, oh yeah, I understand where you're coming from. No, I have to call them traitors. That's right.
Islam, boy.
He said, and those who are.
Yeah, because he mentioned the trial thing. Like the prophet said, he can put them on trial, right? Now, these Moors is calling police
That's the only trial they putting on. They go in the
and taking Moors to court. And taking Moors to court.
Taking Moors to them Roman venues. They ain't never held no de jure court in their so-called temple ever in their life.
Yeah.
Ever in their life. Ever in their life. And he just told you what the prophet said. He told you. He said it. But they're not doing that. They calling highwaymen. They calling Rome to go to court. They not. But the way he putting it now, it's like, oh, now it's court and you getting kicked out the temple. No. Don't make it seem like that. That's not what y'all do. Y'all call magi. That's what they do. That's crazy how they do that. They just try to play church with it. They only want to read it when they think it's beneficial for them.
You know,
they don't want to read it.
No, you know what it also reminds me of? Those freaking Ponzi scheme stuff or whatever. And then they have the big whatever that people can go to, the conference, whatever it is, and they're explaining what it's about, and then you're hearing people like, yeah, ooh, and when they cheer, some people are cheering loud, standing up and stuff. Like, how come these guys are getting so hype? Are they the hype people for this to make this be something? You know, just like when they got church, pastor man got his little crew. When you go to a lecturer has his little crew that he's gonna send out in the crowd, and they're gonna ask questions and stuff like that to make you feel comfortable. Like, yeah, this is where you're supposed to be. When this is not, no draw, you didn't bring some pasteurizing. That wasn't what this was about. That's not what this was about at all.
Right? And then you get to subscribe to the uplifting fund and fail to act are not Moors, but traitors. Oh! It's hurting. If they fail, so Brother Damu's trying to save your life. If they fail, you're saying to get to the uplifting fund, they're able. He said they're not Moors, but traitors. He said,
why didn't it say that they're not Moorish Americans?
Why didn't it say that they're not Moorish Americans?
Come on now.
Which again, going back to the campaign of the title, because they know that title is going to draw eyes, right? Because again, this is a hot topic. Because people really get told this stuff. This is not these people just making a video to teach about Noble Juali and the temple or whatever like that. This is a campaign that they're on. To do what? Cause the confusion. Mix the falsehood with truth. Have people thinking crazy.
Happen when able towards uplifting fund is the penalty is embezzlement of the faith of our creed. Ooh, crazy! Oh no, not given to the uplifting fund according to the prophet Noah Juali's embezzlement of the faith of our creed. All this camaraderie we doing. What the prophet said about them ones. Right? The prophet has spoken. He just so speaking. And in his speaking, he said, embezzlement is his charge. said, if any leader and head of any temple fails to obey these laws, embezzlement. That's his charge. I don't think that's a light word. No. That's kind of serious. So, I mean, if you want to court with that thing on you, right, you want to be kind of afraid. Right. You may not
Hold on.
Islam.
I was waiting for it. Anybody afraid if they come with some embezzlement charges? Like,
these are.
Now we know. I'm not saying that they're not going to bring them or they can't bring them and all of this stuff. We know they could pull a lot of stuff out of the head. But anybody that's going back to the same thing, he just try to downplay the jurisdiction part.
Yep.
So if you know they don't have jurisdiction, why would you be afraid for embezzlement charges? But if you don't know about jurisdiction, you would be afraid of the embezzlement charge because you would think that they actually have jurisdiction to actually try you or adjudicate over you. And mean you not even thinking about the treaty. And mean you not thinking about Article 1, Section Article 1, Section 10, right? Which is dealing with that. No, like this is what I'm saying. Like, oh my goodness, like this. How it so knowing these things make you just a Moor, but Moorish Americans make you not know about jurisdiction or trying these people who is actually fraud. Moorish American means you don't know about 1933 or the coup, or you know what I'm saying. All of these things that actually matter in lawful. Like lawfully, right? Lawfully. If the Constitution tell you that no ex post facto law shall be passed, right? Now they say the United States can't do it, and then they go on to extend that to that the state can't even do it, right? So how are you, with knowing this, afraid about some embezzlement charges? If you're not going in there saying, what did I embezzle? Everything that I guess just the Moor would know, not the Moorish American. That's just crazy. Like for you to be like he have the sash on, right? He's supposed to be. Didn't the prophet say? Oh my goodness! Like it's crazy. Like oh man, this is. I can't deal with this one, bro. Like that one kind of struck a nerve with me because you just downplayed jurisdiction, and then you brought about embezzlement charges, and then spoke about how that's a heavy charge. Yeah. All right. You know, when we're not talking about a court that's not even, you know, okay, if jurisdiction shall be vested in one Supreme Court, right? You're not even talking about that.
But that goes back to the idea of, you know, the law that's been lacking, or the law studies, or the, you know, even the Moorish Civic Booster Club been lacking because these people don't want to deal with the law. They want to deal with acts and ordinances and statutes and codes and whatever else. Constitution, they're staying away from. Psychopathic inferiority to the Constitution.
Absolutely. But isn't he reading the man who told you to help him enforce the Constitution?
Right.
And then, you know, I heard a lot of people try to talk about what he meant, the divine Constitution and bylaws. Well, he didn't mention that in the divine order. He didn't mention, because in that same divine warning, he told you about 1774, all men being declared equal. That's why he told you the 14th and the 15th isn't necessary. So why would, when he talk about enforcing the Constitution to help him, he would just go back to divide Constitution and bylaws.
Oh, they know what Constitution they supposed to enforce. They say, but they say, yeah, the prophet said to enforce the Constitution, but he didn't say to enforce it like that. Like, what? Like, how did you just add that in there? He didn't say that. He said to enforce the Constitution. You said don't enforce it like that. You just said that part. That's not in the literature. You said that out your mouth. Don't enforce it like that. What do you mean don't enforce it like that?
Yeah. What do you mean?
And not only that, is that if you were facing some kind of embezzlement charges, then you go into these municipal courts and all of this, is that you're going to be facing barristers, or when you read the law dictionary, read up what a solicitor is, because that's what they're doing. Because they're not, trust me, they're not about to quote unquote sue you for embezzlement charges under your free national. So they're going to hit you with embezzlement under the straw or the nom de guerre. That's how when you get there, there's already going to be somebody there ready to take everything from you. Because he solicited. Somebody hit him up, yeah, I need you to do this for me. And going back to the Constitution is that Article 1, Section 9, Clause 8, right? It says, no title of nobility shall be granted by the United States, and no person holding any office of profit or trust under them shall, without consent of the Congress, accept any present, emolument, office, or title of any kind, whatever, from any king, prince, or foreign state. Now, when you're in this court, those are barristers.
Right.
Those are esquires. That's sure. You're not even fighting that part. Hold on, what am I doing in here with a bunch of esquires? You in there, first off, there's so many things as Moors that secure your standing or your status, but just like I said, even with the Zodiac Constitution, like what's going on? If you're not in there talking about my ancestors, or where y'all formed your whole little get up, so I need everybody to be acknowledging that same thing that was set up. That means we need to be talking treaty, we need to be talking like jurisdiction for real, because everybody in should know that's like, you know who I am. Like that don't, man, I don't know. It's so much, bro.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's just so much with this one. Like,
and another thing too, only reason why I know what he's saying is because I'm listening in the yard. I can't really hear him because of the so much church stuff that's going on. You still got the ad-lib guy in the back that's yelling every time he yells. I'm like, yo, I can't hear him because you already before he even said anything. He didn't say nothing yet, and you already yelling, yeah. And I'm like, he didn't say nothing yet. Take your time, Pastor. Take your time, Pastor.
Slow down.
All he needed was the organ player in the back.
Break it down.
That's how you and right now, he's having a sermon on people not paying their tithes. That's what he's having a sermon on, talking about.
Yeah.
Moors not paying their dues. Man, you talking about
Tithes
church,
right
bro.
now. Yeah.
And you talking about
Pass
people,
the bucket.
Christians not paying their tithes.
wow.
That's post-Sylvester. What you just was doing just now. I know that trick. I heard that sermon before. I know that shit. I heard that sermon before.
They just use Nogajwali instead. Crazy.
Oh man.
Just
You
use
over
Nogajwali
there
instead.
talking about Moors, if Moors don't pay their dues, what? That's the same thing at church. They gave my mom a 3-year certificate for paying her tithes on time. She got a certificate. I said, man, you got a certificate for paying your tithes on time? And 3 years straight. I said, yeah, that is insane. Insane. That takes some bookkeeping. That takes some bookkeeping. That's they do at the temple. That they do at the temple though. They don't give you a certificate. You get to keep your membership card.
Yep, you get to keep your membership. Right? That's how they do.
Yep.
If you don't pay your dues, we're gonna take your membership, or I mean your nationality card.
Yeah. In the guise of I need a nationality card. That's membership. You can't do that with nationality.
You can't take the prophecy. Oh my goodness, like these people like really, man. It's like when you hear it, just like when you read the Constitution, once you start reading it, all of the fraud that's going on starts to play in your mind because it's like, hold on.
That's the key. Once you start reading it, you start reading it. Until you read it, it's not gonna make sense.
Yeah.
You know, you have to read it. Right?
Like, you take a man nationality, so that's like saying, you know how the mother said, I brought you in this world, like I take you out.
Yeah, they say right. And to add on what you just said, they're playing truth and falsehood with the birthright and membership mixed together.
Yep. Exactly.
That truth and falsehood is strangely mixed because you guys are a corporation and literally say it like they don't hide that. But then do membership like you got to be a member to be a Moor.
Yeah.
That's birthright and membership. How'd you do that together? How'd you do that? How'd you do Boys and Girls Club with somebody's bloodline? How'd you did that? How'd you did Gold's Gym or Planet Fitness with somebody's birthright? You know what I mean? Like, nope, you didn't pay this month. You can't come in. That's back to the I'm gonna use my boy's card to get in.
Yeah.
That's that. People using other people's more MSCMA temple cards to sneak in the temple. Like, yo, once you use yours, leave it in the bathroom in the back. I'm gonna come in, act like I'm gonna use the bathroom and get the card and come back out. Doing sneaky stuff like that to get in. Because that's what they do. That's membership.
That's
man.
membership. That's the club games.
That's club.
That's straight club. That's straight
But in
club.
the guise of birthright, like it's that's crazy how they did that. That's top treason. How they doing that?
Yeah, high level. High level treason.
And then at the same time too, it does. Again, if you coming into this information, if you just coming into this information, their thing is to not make you want to be in it, not make you want to proclaim your nationality. That's their whole objective. Their whole thing is not for you to be who you are. So if you come into it, thinking, okay, I gotta go in the temple to be a Moor. If you do that, they got you. If they got you that way. If you because what they're doing is church. If you see this video and you like, man, this is church. This is some BS. I ain't getting down with this. I'd rather do this Kemet, Black, African, whatever stuff that I'm doing because okay. Perfect. Their video got the point across. That's what they wanted. That's exactly what they wanted. That confusion part right there. To do that. To distort you from wanting to know anything about your nationality and birthright. That's their whole thing. And if you do go to the temple, they're not teaching you that. Not at all. You know?
This is why. Like.
Especially. Oh, go ahead, Mo.
No, I was just gonna say this is why, you have people who set the standard. You know what I mean? The Moors that we came up with in Mecca, Grand Chief Nature, Brother Alim, who has Moorish Holy Temple of Science Charter. Like there's certain people, the Moors near Virginia, Brother Kennick and all those Moors out there, the Lendi brothers, all them Moors. There's Moors out here that are actually putting in some real Moor science temple for real. You know what I mean? Have programs running, go into the schools, doing programs, go into the prisons, getting contacts from chaplains or directors of whoever in correctional facilities. People in there want the information. It's happening. You just have to be on the side of wanting to assist with getting this word out to our people. Goes on, Brother Jeremy. You had something?
Oh, I just wanted to say, anytime when they make you think you have to become a Moor or become something you already are, and that's when they got you. So, like, a lot of people think, what do I do to be a Moor, or y'all trying to turn me into a Moor, or all of this stuff. These are false paradigms that's been given to them. Because, like I say, most of the people who say they know this and that about Moorish science, just ask them if they ever read any of the prophet literature. If they haven't, then just dismiss the whole argument, because clearly they don't know. And 9 times out of 10, when they're saying they know who the Moors are, the Moors are slaves, traders, and all that, that comes from somebody else who already regurgitated that term. So, like, if we not out here, like, that's what that's what I do in the territory where I am. I'm not up here trying to even think what I'm doing is void until I get a temple. Like, I know that there's no temple that make the people who they are. I'm telling people where I'm at. Like, I don't know. Like, this not no, I go somewhere. Like, I don't even, it's one temple out here, but like I said, I went in there and it just wasn't right, and I knew that just from study. But, I don't go to no temple every day and all of that stuff, but I'm showing people, like, it's birthright. Like, don't ever, like, once you forget about that's what it is, because birth, that's the importance, the birth part. So once if birth is the main aspect of nationality, then, like I say, that's why I say there's no temple involved there. It's no piece of paper involved there. It's nobody who would even stand over after it happens and be like, okay, I declare this a Moor, or none of that. Like, you are all Moor from the beginning. You cannot become something that you are. That's why the prophet told you, no one can change the descent nature. Mm-hmm. Not even the temple. Not even the temple. They can't even take your nationality away. So that is a farce. That's why I say, once you, even just like I say, when you read the Constitution, you start seeing all of the fraud that's going on around in where you at. and read the prophet literature and watch you start seeing all of the fraud. Like, I'm gonna just give you an example. I went to this temple out here, and I don't know, like I say, it just didn't feel right because I had already been studying. So when I came in, it was around the prophet's solar return. So you could tell that whole week they were sticking their teeth deep into the necks of the people.
Yeah.
That's dogma day. That's dogma time.
Yeah.
You know, and I had already knew this. And when everything was over, I spoke to whoever, I guess this was the Grand Sheik, and I was like, you know what, man? I've been studying for, a nice amount of time, and I knew that nationality don't, what I told him? I knew that nationality, the paper doesn't make, you know what I mean? You know how, like, that the papers don't make me the more, like, knowing who I am is what it is. But I was at the point where I, at the time, needed some signatures. And when I said that, the dude looked to the left, like, oh man, here's one of these type of people. So, this before my son was even, bro. This before my son was even on the earth. You hear me? My son is about to be 2 now, and when I went, he wasn't even on the earth. So just think about that. And so I was talking to him, and I told him that. And I was like, yeah, man, I just need help in these areas. And the dude, he put his head to the side like, so what's your number, brother? And I gave him my number. He like, well, what time you wake up? And I'd be like, I be up every day, such and such. Well, I get up early too, man. Just be looking out for my call. And do you know, I still haven't got a call from this dude to this day. You know why I didn't get that call? It's because I was talking about nationality and birthright. He heard the civic-minded individual who was talking to him. But at the time, and then it's crazy because I used to be tripping like, man, this dude still ain't called me. What kind of stuff is that? And then I just kept studying. And then I bought this book off of RVB. And it was the back into the constitutional fold of government. And that made, when I read that book, where I went, it just made all the sense. I was like, that's why he didn't call me. That's why, that's why, and that's why all them people just in there, like, they sitting in pews, and that's why nobody in there had books. And that, like, all of this stuff started coming out. So, like you say, once you start reading, whatever it is, just like once you start reading anything on real slave history, and then you start running into white gold, they were white, they were slaves, white cargo, stuff you never ran. You done ran into roots. You done ran into everything else.
Yeah.
But you start reading this stuff, and then, hold up, they talking something different. There's some contradictory stuff going on. That's the same thing that's happening. That's how you could catch these barristers in the lie. You catch these quote-unquote magistrates in the lie. Are you not bound by Article 6? When he's talking about, well, Texas State and whatever bull crap, whatever they pushing. Are you not bound by Article 6? And anything to the contrary notwithstanding, are you not bound to that? And the only way I could know that is by reading the Constitution, knowing that Article 6 say that all of y'all are bound. And going back to you can't even pass a law that could impair the obligation of contract. So you can't even say, well, the state, I have to go by the state codes and no. There's no law that will tell you not to actually go by the thing that say anything to the contrary, notwithstanding. But I yield the floor. Islam.
Islam.
And that's why the news analyst lady says the European, when they be talking about those temple Moors, when they refer to them, they say, oh, this organization, when you join them, this organization of blacks, when you join them, makes you Moroccan.
because that's the way they make it seem.
Yeah.
Like when like Brother Jeremy saying, "All right, I go out of state." That's 14th Amendment. You black. Once you said that, you go by the state. 14th Amendment. You black.
Yeah.
So then that's why news lady, when she went on there, that's why she said what she said, because they say it themselves. Those Moors, those temple, those Moors. But they play the membership game, so they're black. They say that they go by the state and all of those codes, statutes, so they classify as black.
Right.
But they made up a club that when you join them, when you join this chess club, you become Moroccan. That's their club. Like if you join a real chess team, which y'all do there, y'all go there, y'all play chess. Like when they go at this organization of blacks here, when you join here, we do Moroccan and play church. That's what we do here. And you pay tithes, you pay dues, and the guys dues a fee for that. You pay a fee for that. But then they call it in different words, because they still gotta play church.
Yeah.
In the guise of dogma church, because that's what they playing. That's not even real church. They playing the dogma system, and everybody else is playing. Every other religion, whatever, they all playing. Hoop holler has to play that to him.
And to add on what you were saying, Yusuf, is that the same people who play in church and giving that tithe at 10% know your history, because that same 10% is what the Europeans had to chip together to get their loved ones out of Moorish captivity.
Yeah,
that's where you get Red Cross, all of these charity foundations. That come from Europeans back then going to the church. We need you to go talk to him. I haven't seen my wife in 7 years. I haven't seen my husband and my children in 14 years. Like, read more than Masonry. They have accounts where people hadn't seen their family for years, and they needed to give that, going back to why you had to give them 10%? Because you had to pay the salt as soon as you come there and say, yeah, I heard that you captured some ships about 7 years ago. And like, you had to pay even to just go talk on behalf of whoever you was going for.
Yeah.
You're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, I yield the floor on that one, just to add on what Brother Yusuf was saying.
Islam. I want to say happy holy day to all the Moors. TGIF. Peace and love to all. You already know how it goes sometimes, Moors. Sometimes you get some treats. So we know the chat was going nuts. So we know that y'all had a good one today. Happy holy day once again. Any closing comments, Moors?
Yeah, this is line to the Moors in the chat. Give thanks to Brother Jim and give thanks to you too, Green Sheep.
Islam, boy.
Over. And give thanks to the Prophet.
Honors to the Prophet.
Islam to Cujo for you having this platform, man. Give thanks to Yusuf, bro. Like, as much as you give thanks, bro, I give thanks, because this is what people need to understand. You know what I mean? Like, this is the part. Like, not that other stuff that majority of them gonna run into as soon as you get on this search of who you really are as a people. Like, 9 times out of 10 when people start looking for who they are, they run into all of these clowns. So I really, like, that's why, you know, I say I give thanks for even this, because, like, this is what I needed, you know? Or, you know, and all thanks to the prophet for coming to the Asiatics of this land, because we really needed him the most. And he knew that because everybody else was already on board with stealing your birthright. So he had to come tell you.
Everybody was on board.
Everybody.
Peace and love to all the Moors. Honest to the Prophet, honest to the Forerunner, and give thanks to Allah. Peace and love, Moors.
Talking, never ever doing. Facts in your face, blacks never gluing. Fortress gate on your mind, you won't let you in. Blame outside yourself, worldly life ruined. Emotion bubbles and troubles, volcano mouth spewing. Left flat like Montserrat when democracy moving. Vaporization at female welfare centers. Get blasted as you enter, won't get to spend a cent or a dollar. I guarantee you won't even holler or feel it. Stiff from shock, bystanders won't believe it. Hammers cock, G20 scene. Corral the shadow like herds of cattle. Wasted energy, struggling not for battles. Pointing fingers, complaining about conditions that you help to implement and put yourself in. And trust, put your wealth in. No rush, don't procrastinate, cause they stealthing. Liquidating government assets called wards to conquer. I guarantee the pen's mightier than swords. Saying they know God, but calling her him and Lord. Make you pill pop, then call diseases cured.
Ain't no rest for the righteous, so I might just. Ain't no rest for the righteous, so I might just. Ain't no rest for the righteous, so I might just. Ain't no rest for the righteous, so I might just.
Yeah, it's a matrix. Act Sophia Stewart. Prevention is better. I won't be in those courts. Color of office and authority pushing de facto laws. Smashing your eye socket and crack your jaw. Misprising the treason and acts of war and fraud. In places so high, even through the gates of God. As my cup runneth over, ancestors fought. My soul is the shore where my thoughts are moored. My lines beautiful like my goddess facial contour. Or ugly like a wild boar, a crying child. Or your face after a taste of the iron claw. I wonder if these heads will ever be ready. Will they stop chasing and conserve energy? Probably not, cause they high off the kush pot. The no seed weed will most definitely shrivel up your seeds on the spot. Your flow is like a hot pot with diarrhea squirts. Wearing tight ass pants and extra small shirts. Conscious schools, mental wrestling, black power jerks. Talk bad about master but accept his perks.
Ain't no rest for the righteous, so I might just. Ain't no rest for the righteous, so I might just. Ain't no rest for the righteous, so I might just. Ain't no rest for the righteous, so I might just.